A business you could sell is a great business to own because what you do is you build what I call a well-oiled machine that just starts to run on itself that doesn't necessarily need you. And that makes it very valuable because if it does sell, there is no buyer, there's no private equity firm that's going to want to buy a company that's owner dependent in any way. And if it is, and if they do want to buy it, guess who's got to stay on for a couple more years? That's the owner. So that's not where you want to get to. You want to make sure that when it is time to sell, it's just like, here you go, I'm out.
This is the Entrepreneurs United podcast with your hosts, John St. Pierre and Rich Hoffmann.
Entrepreneurs, welcome back. Today we're sitting down with Vince Perri. He's an entrepreneur, a business broker, a speaker, creates a lot of content on YouTube. And today we're going to talk to you about one very, very important topic. When do you actually start thinking about preparing your business for an eventual exit? So many of us entrepreneurs have all of our wealth built up into this business that we're building and creating. And as you know from my story, I built a business for over 15 years. And Vince, I lost it in dramatic fashion with nothing to show for it. After 15 years of growing it to over $55 million in global revenue, and bang, gone, lost it all. I made myself vulnerable, right? The company's in a vulnerable position and stuff I could have done a lot different. And now I'm rebuilding businesses. What is the one thing, Vince, that I and other entrepreneurs need to be thinking about as you're building a business related to exit? When should I start thinking about exit? How should I start thinking about it? What are some strategies and things? There's so many questions that I have personally, and I'm sure entrepreneurs want to jump in as well. But let's start off with, what is the single biggest thing entrepreneurs need to be thinking about regarding their business and eventual exit?
Now, whether you want to do so or not, and I love my business and it's so great and I never want to do anything else, that's great and all, but at the end of the day, if you look at it as an investment and understanding the fact that so much of your net worth is in your business, then maybe you could start thinking about it a little bit differently.
Vince, tell me about what makes you unique in your space and why would someone want to work with you?
I'm not just a business broker, I'm an exit advisor, right? So I'm a certified exit planning advisor, which means I start working with business owners from the beginning, where we start planning immediately. And I would say what makes me different there is I actually focus a lot on the personal side. So it's not just the business itself, it's also the personal side, where one thing that I do is I make sure that I get the two things. I try to figure out what the wealth gap is. So everyone should have a wealth goal. How much money do you need in quote unquote retirement so that you could live the life of your dreams? Do you want to buy, I was just sitting with somebody now who's originally from Puerto Rico. It's like, okay, after you're retired, do you want to move to Puerto Rico and potentially buy a house in Puerto Rico and maybe start another business in Puerto Rico? How much money are you going to actually need in order to do that? That's your wealth goal. Okay. Now we're looking at it today. What's your wealth? What's your personal wealth now? So let's say your wealth goal is $10 million. What's your net worth right now today as we speak? Let's call it $1 million. I've got investments, I've got different things, I've got retirement, 401k, all these things. You're worth $1 million. So that means the wealth gap is $9 million. And where is that wealth gap hiding? Any guesses? In your business. So now that's the goal that you want to hit. That's technically the dollar amount that you want to get to. So at least you have somewhere that, and then obviously we get the valuation. Okay, how much do we have to actually increase the value of this business so that we can ultimately hit your wealth goal? So I don't know if that's what makes me different, but yeah, no, we go on the personal side big time. And then we dive into the valuation drivers on ultimately increasing the value of your business through an assortment of things.
Can you tell me about a time where you personally applied some of the constructs that you teach others?
Yeah, no, I scaled my business to several $1 million several years ago. And it comes down to I call it the 4 C's, right? Making sure that you have human capital, which is the employees, and everybody's on the same page. And you've got your A players and your B players. You're getting rid of your C players. You're focusing all your attention on your A players. I always made sure that I did that. We do leadership training. To this day, my team's cut down a lot because I recently I sold that business. I do leadership training with my team every single week just to make sure that they're getting better. I also provide them anywhere from $50 to $100 per month on just any kind of education that they want. So that's a lot of books you could buy and courses and stuff to make sure that they're always educating themselves. So that's the human capital side of it. The customer capital is making sure that you've got a really good relationship with your customer, making sure that you're not reliant on one customer. So you got some diversification, and then also making sure that you're doing different things to just better the experience. Then there's the structural capital, which is really big for me. It's just the SOPs. And thank God for ChatGPT. Boy, that SOPs get a lot easier these days, where making sure that everything that's in your brain, all the systems and processes, is ultimately on paper and transferable. And then my favorite thing of business, to be honest, and I know I'm talking a lot of things here, but it's the social capital, which is the marketing, the branding. How do people actually view your business? What do they see when they Google my business, and the ratings that you get, and what's your website look like, and so on and so forth. So when I scaled my business, I already luckily had a lot of knowledge on this, and I was able to really focus on those 4 core things to try to make sure that's constantly getting better so that we could increase the value of the business.
You said, thank goodness we have ChatGPT now around the creating SOPs. Tell me more about that experience.
Oh, wow. I have an SOP for an SOP. I created a GPT for my SOPs. I don't have it off the top of my head right here, but I've got a general structure on how I craft every single SOP, with the goal in mind at the top, and then a small little checklist at the bottom, and then everything that has to be done in the middle. And I created a GPT so that it just spits out that structure every time. So whatever SOP that I'm trying to put together, I could literally spit it into the GPT and it does it the exact way that I want to do it. For me personally now, as you continue to scale a company, I'm sure you guys could understand and agree that I want my employees to be creating the processes. They're the ones that are in it. So I take the GPT and I can share it, and they all have it. And then we all store it in a couple of different folders to make sure that we all have the exact same structure for every single system in our process in our system.
What are a couple of the SOPs you find those in your companies are using most often that they come back and are referred to?
Which ones are the most often in my company? Man, let's see. There's so many of them.
Or if most often isn't hit it, which one would you say is most critical?
Which one is most critical? Probably, you put me on the spot there. I would say the deliverable of our product right now, like I'm just talking about now, just in the business that I'm scaling right now, which is just the actual value clarity report that we put together. So that report's done the exact same way every single time, and that's a big one. I do the initial conversation with the entrepreneur, and then I take that conversation, I give it to one of my administrators, and she needs to follow a very strict process to make sure that report is structured the exact same way every single time. And then there is the process after that of just how it's delivered, how we schedule the follow-up call, and then how we do the quarterly follow-up calls with the entrepreneur, which, by the way, I will interject. I'm very excited because the way we do the report is very structured in a very similar way. I'm now in the process of creating an AI agent that I'm hoping can do all of that for me.
Love that, man. So it sounds like you're getting on the cutting edge of that stuff. Here's a question that I have for you that I ponder a lot. Right now, actually, Rich and I just recently recorded a conversation about the 5 types of wealth. And one of the types of wealth is financial wealth. But there's also time wealth, social wealth, mental wealth, physical wealth, right? And then financial wealth. And I guess I ask myself this question a lot, Vince, which is exiting my business the only option to achieve those 5 components of wealth versus continuing to grow the business, maybe moving to a more strategic role, like a chairperson role versus running the operation. So you own a business, not operate a business, those kinds of things. Where do you sit on that? Is it possible for entrepreneurs to grow a business, extract liquidity from that business so they are creating financial wealth and achieving other wealth without exiting? What's your viewpoint on that?
Yeah, totally. That's all of our goals all the time, right? When we're scaling a business, if you're doing it right, you should constantly be thinking of how you could basically remove yourself out of it as often as possible. And there's nothing wrong. Even when I do the exit strategy, when you're built, my quote that I say all the time, it's on my website and everything, is a business you can sell is a great business to own.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Can we touch on that for a second?
Yeah, think about that sentence. It can go a couple different ways, right? Obviously, it's a great business to own because somebody else is going to own it, but it's also a great business for you to own as well by not being owner dependent, having recurring revenue and some kind of subscription model, having nice cash flow generated every single month. There's so many things that valuable business with a high value amount that you could sell for is also a great business that could run on its own.
Vince, let's get to the dirty truth here. I believe, tell me what you think. I believe that 90% of entrepreneurs the year or two before they decide to sell their business, start deciding, I'm going to optimize this business for profitability because I'm going to then sell it. And they take the year or two, they optimize it for profitability, then they sell it. And the person buying that business now has a clean business with really good profitability and good cash flows they can run. And or the prior owner left so much food on the table, if you will, for that next person to then take and get a maximum return on their investment because there's so many low-hanging fruit that entrepreneur never took advantage of. So I think one of the biggest travesties is, you mentioned it earlier, if you prepare your business for exit every year you're optimizing your business, every year you're trying to maximize profitability and margins, and every year you're doing this, you may never actually sell your business. So it's a great business to own. Is that fair?
Yeah, no, that's totally fair. I focus on the 3 core drivers that I just mentioned. The 3 core drivers are recurring revenue, owner dependency, and cash flow. You literally just focus on those things. You could have a very nice, well-oiled machine. And then, like I said, I go to the 4 intangible capitals of your human capital, making sure that you're really focusing on really improving your team. You know what? That was a game changer for me, I would say. It's just like when I really started to just put a lot of my effort on the actual human capital side of it, on my employees, where at a younger age, I lost that fear of, oh, I don't want to teach them too much because they'll either go somewhere else or maybe lose interest and want to do something else. It's no, if I throw in just a ton of my effort into developing them, and I do a lot of coaching. I pay for a lot of coaching myself. And I am just so happy to just take what I'm learning and just teaching it to them like right off the bat. And if they have aspirations of owning a company one day, go, let's do it. I'll help you to get there. I'll teach you everything. And what you get is just like this beautiful, they end up wanting to die on a sword for you. Like the more that you give to them. And that was a big one. But yeah, to answer your question, a business you could own, a business you could sell is a great business to own, because what you do is you build what I call a well-oiled machine that just starts to run on itself, that doesn't necessarily need you. And that makes it very valuable, because if it does sell, there is no buyer, there's no private equity firm that's going to want to buy a company that's owner dependent in any way. And if it is, and if they do want to buy it, guess who's got to stay on for a couple more years? That's the owner. So that's not where you want to get to. You want to make sure that when it is time to sell, it's just like, here you go, I'm out.
And these 3 components you talk about are also drivers of the ultimate value of your company, right? Or your multiple revenue driver, multiples. So like recurring revenue, owner dependency, and what you talk about there with the human capital of your team, I like to call building a culture of entrepreneurs, where
Nice.
people within your company treat the company like it's their own company. And by doing that, they eventually want to run their company. And that's great. Like your job as a CEO should be to replace yourself in every role that you do to get out, so you can actually pursue other interests, or whether they be service interests or commercial interests, whatever that may be. And then cash flow, right? Cash is king is the idea. And so having those 3 components can help grow the value of your business. What would be 4, 5, and 6 if you had to say, okay, those are 3 areas that really help grow the value of your, what would be 4, 5, and 6 if you had to be forced to say the next 3?
4, 5, and 6, I would just narrow it down into a little bit more of, like I said, and just making sure. One of my favorite books is E-Myth Revisited, right? And basically, if you can take the entire business and be able to put it in a box and replicate it, or transferability, I would say, is another one, right? So the SOPs, the systems, the processes, taking it out of your brain, putting it into paper and making it transferable is very important. I would put as like one of the 4s, is making sure that you could take exactly how everything is done and be able to give it to somebody who knows nothing about the business, and that person could actually take a look at this and replicate everything. So transferability, I think, is a big one. Your systems and processes, putting everything to a box, is another big one. And let me see here. Let me think. Again, I would say the social capital of it, which is your branding, your website, your social media, how people actually view your business. Can they find your business? Those are very important drivers as well, where it's much easier for me to sell a business when I go and I see 5-star Google reviews and like 5,000 reviews and it's all 5 stars or 4-star, 4.5 stars. That's a huge, like, people really like that because it's already now established in the community as a reputable company that will do good work. So a buyer comes in, and even if the numbers aren't great, Even if it's a little owner dependent, it's wait, they've already got an established market here in the community. That goes a long way. And the Google My Business reviews are huge.
You had said around human capital that you do leadership training for your team on a weekly basis. I've heard from some entrepreneurs that doing it weekly can be a stretch and they struggle to find content and keep it relevant and not just be making things up. How do you navigate that?
All right. In all honesty, I have cut it down to once a month.
Okay.
All right. I'll be
Well,
honest.
that's how you navigate it. You started weekly
Yeah.
and you realized, hey, I can't keep it as relevant
Yeah.
weekly as I'd like to. I want it to be higher impact. Once a month is going to help.
But I just answered this question actually to somebody on chat not too long ago where he's like, how do you do it? What do you do? And I think it's very simple. It's very easy for me where think about the company, think about some of the things that they're struggling with that maybe they could use some help with. And then I just go into my Rolodex of just books and courses and training that I've received to see where I can find something. And then again, I do use the help of ChatGPT, of AI to help me come up with the structure of the whole thing. And I don't know about you guys, but I am huge on drawing models. I learned this from Dan Martell. He draws a lot of models. And then there's this other guy. I love drawing triangles, squares, quadrants, trees, all different kinds of stuff to really explain and hit home exactly what I'm teaching. Oh, the models method is what it's called. I can't remember the gentleman's name, but that's fantastic too. And that's another way that I train that I think it's much more engaging that way where people are actually learning because I'm very much a very visual learner. And when somebody draws models and I can see the picture of what they're trying to explain, it helps a lot. That, and I love coaching, guys. I was a tennis coach for 15 years. I always say I taught kids from 4 to 94. I did it every single day in, day out, grinding on the court for 15 straight years, Saturday mornings as well. And I've always felt that one of my talents has always been to take a complicated subject and find a way to simplify it in a way that people could understand it. And since I've learned how to really start drawing models based on the concept that I'm trying to teach, that's made it even easier.
The models method, who did you cite for that?
I can't remember the gentleman's name. I'd have to look it up online. But
Oh.
Simon something?
Is that a Simon Sinek?
No. Models method.
I've never heard of the models method.
Yeah, nor have I. I'm really intrigued by it.
Simon something, but it's not giving me his last name.
All right. It's worth
Simon
Bowen.
Simon Bowen. Okay.
Simon Bowen.
And how did you become aware of the models method?
Dan Martell introduced it to me.
Okay. Very cool. All right. I don't mean this to be a gotcha moment, but it may end up being that. Do you have an SOP for how to create the leadership training?
You want me to share my GPTs that I've got?
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I like share screen. Basically, I've got a GPT that breaks down how it goes. So it starts with an opening statement. From the opening statement, it goes to a story that I have to tell relating to the content that we're doing. Then it'll have kind of an impactful quote. And then it'll say, here's the model that you're going to draw. And it breaks it down into whatever it is that I spit into it about what it is that I want to teach. Like, for example, like yesterday, I taught my mastermind group the 4 C's. So it broke it down into, it literally tells me you're going to draw a quadrant here, and up here you're going to write human capital. You're going to draw 3 people. You're going to write the letter A, B, and C, and you're going to put 20% focus on the A players, 70% on the B players. And then I just went all the different quadrants. I end with something else. Usually I like to list limiting beliefs after that. So what are the limiting beliefs behind the topic so if they're already thinking, this is not for me, I don't have time for this, whatever, I'll do limiting belief crushers, and then I'll do a homework assignment to basically focus on that thing. So that is the SOP. I appreciate you putting me on the spot. I nailed it.
Yeah, that's awesome. So it sounds like the formula, and I'll paraphrase in my words, but you're thinking about company needs.
Yes.
You're thinking about the individual needs of people. You'll then think of a source of content from your experience. Then you'll go to AI. And AI, you will have it share with you, how would you use the model method to describe this? What are some of the limiting beliefs I may be up against, and how do I mitigate those? And what would be a good homework assignment or follow-up over the next 7 days that they could do something with it?
You hit it right on the head.
Amazing. And then you give 50, I've never heard anybody giving $50 or $100 a month for books or courses, or how do you find that most often being used? And can you give me an example of something that you saw as a tangible benefit from that expense? So for
So
one, how is it most often used? Question number two, what's a tangible benefit you've seen?
So they're all so like my marketing team, for example, it's a team of 3, and we're always learning different things about lead magnets, nurture sequences, landing pages, SEO, Google ads, Facebook ads, and all these different things. And I am constantly feeding myself information and trying to find different things. And before I would just be like, hey, read this book. Hey, you guys should read this book. Hey, you guys should take this course. Hey, you guys should do this. And then again, in my studies and training, it's just allocate some money to your team so that they could actually do it, because sometimes they may not want to actually spend that money to do it. So it's not $50 that I give them. They have up to $50, okay, so that they could actually use that towards any kind of education. And the way I break it down to them is a book normally costs like $9.99, right? So you could buy up to 5 books a month with that. And also another example I give them is LinkedIn Learning costs $35 a month, and you have like unlimited access to a bunch of courses. So they've been diving into that, I've noticed, which is pretty nice. Coursera is pretty cheap, I think, too, like 10 or 20 bucks a month. That's how I came up with the 50, is because I wanted to make sure it was enough so they can get it, not crazy amount. And it's not like they spend it all the time. It's just at least they have it there where they can go ahead and educate themselves. And it's been really nice. And let me tell you, they're very grateful too. They're just like, wow, that's awesome. Even though they know it's only benefiting the company, but also it makes them more knowledgeable, because again, I encourage them like, hey, if one day you want to start your own marketing company, like you're learning everything here right now on exactly how to build something like that. And I will fully support whatever it is that you want to do all the time.
Vince, one thing, biggest mistake entrepreneurs make.
I can tell you mine.
Please.
It almost buried me. I hired backwards. So I hired too fast and I hired in the wrong direction. What really almost caused me to go bankrupt about 2 years ago was hiring C-suites. So like I went and I'm a public adjuster. That's what I've been for a very long time. So we work insurance claims and everything. And we had a hurricane come in and it just got crazy. So I just started hiring like crazy, which is already the first mistake. And then I didn't know what to hire for, but I wanted to always constantly find a way to remove myself from the business. And I just started like naming people managers, naming people chief of marketing, naming people chief of operations, naming people financial like chief, and like all these C-suites when my company really wasn't at a C-suite level. But I thought that these titles were just like, would actually be the needle mover. And it ultimately wasn't. Nobody really took the responsibility. They still came to me for decisions, and I just didn't do it right. Where I've learned now where I like to start from the bottom. So I think hiring an administrative person is by far first and foremost, especially if we're talking to smaller business that they're not sure which direction to go to. You got to go to administrative first. The second level is delivery, right? So you have to make sure after you have your administrator, who's the one that's going to actually be talking to the customers, because the owner should not be talking to the customers all of the time, because that just takes up too much time. So now if you have somebody in administrator and you have somebody in delivery, which by the way, it could be the same person in the beginning, that's okay. Now you can focus on marketing, sales, and being the leader. So you focus on marketing and you find a way to start generating leads, networking, whatever it is that you want to do so that you can start generating leads. Try to get an understanding as well of social media and how that works, because the other mistake that entrepreneurs make is they go ahead and they hire this marketing company, and excuse my French, but they don't know shit about marketing, and then they blame the marketing company for not getting the results when they don't understand the first thing about it. Have yourself focus on marketing and learn how to generate leads and learn how to do digital marketing, at least at an elementary level, and then you could hire the marketing person to focus on the website, build a Google My Business, build the social media profiles and all that stuff so that you can focus on closing sales. Once the marketing is there, once leads are coming in, then you hire a salesperson. Once you get those first 4, you get up to the hiring of the salesperson. That, in my opinion, is when your business explodes, because you've got leads coming in, you've got people handling the administrative, people handling delivery, and a sales team that's actually closing jobs. That after that is this, in my opinion, that's when the sky's the limit.
And also, what if we go back to the start of this, which is always be preparing your business for exit, even if you don't plan on exiting for the next 10 years. What I've done, and that sounds like you've done as well, and a lot of entrepreneurs make the same mistake, is you hire for the future. Oh, in 3 years, we're going to be here. So I need a VP of sales and I need this and I need that. You put all these pieces of puzzles in place, and then you're underwater and you're losing money and you're wondering why. It's because you've overbuilt for where you currently are. But the way you just talked about is perfect, which is start from the ground and build. And maybe you over time build the team that can successfully and profitably run that business this year. Way too many times I've over-architectured my team, just like you did, for the future potential of the business. I had no cash flow because it was eating all of my cash flow. We couldn't reinvest in sales and marketing because it was all going to leadership. Like it was just too much and it was too heavy. And so I sympathize with that moment that I've done that mistake many, many times before. So I agree with it.
I'd like to touch on, which I know you guys haven't asked it at all, but I'd like to touch on also the importance of mindset. Like from a technical aspect, yes, I hired wrong. I shouldn't have hired from the top down. Overhead was too high and I ended up almost getting underwater. Yes, that's true. But I will say that the biggest reason for that to have happened to me was also a fearful mindset that I had, where I was making decisions based on fear as opposed to with courage, where I'm like making decisions because, quite frankly, deep inside, I didn't think that I could actually hold responsibility of those roles. I'm just an insurance adjuster and I run the company. I don't know anything about operations. Yeah, I do. It's my company. Nobody knows it better than me. I'm hiring a chief marketing officer because I don't know anything about actual marketing. Yeah, I do. Have you seen my YouTube channel? I know a little bit about marketing. I was making these decisions and making these hires, not because of a necessity, but because of a fear I had and a lack of confidence I had in myself. But then number two, I also feel that maybe, who knows, if I had made those decisions and stuck with those decisions and be confident in those decisions and be completely, instead of fear, but being courageous and yes, this is the right decision. This is the C-suite I'm hiring. This is going to work. And here's why it's going to work. Maybe it would have worked. I believe sometimes when we make mistakes, they're not so much mistakes sometimes. They're just like you're making a decision and then you're going back on it. Like I was having a conversation with a business owner yesterday where he's, I made this stupid decision where I bought this domain. And I'm like, what's the domain that you bought? And it's the exact same name of his company. I said, that's not a bad decision. That's a great decision. Sure, it hurts a little bit now, but when we get your company up to 5 million, you're going to be really happy that you spent that money on that domain. Don't second guess yourself. Be confident in your decision and go all in on it, because once you start second guessing yourself and you get that fear factor going on inside, in my opinion, that's when things could really start to crumble, where sure, in hindsight, they may have been bad decisions, but I will be honest with you, my mindset just wasn't right either.
Vince, you've mentioned your YouTube channel a few times. Tell me more about that so people can go find that and learn more.
Yeah, it's Vince Perri Official. We really focus on helping entrepreneurs and business owners really with the exit in mind, but just overall, like I try to do a different theme every month. People probably don't notice, but it's usually leadership and mindset 1 month, systems and operations another month, marketing and sales another month, and then like exit strategy another month. I try to do it like that to make it a little bit easier. But yeah, I just want to help entrepreneurs really not go through what I went through, which was, it was rough. I'm sure you guys can relate. When the shit hits the fan, and it is not fun because it all falls on you. And I just want to make sure that people get an understanding of you're not alone and we're in this fight together. And again, I had a great conversation with an entrepreneur yesterday that was just doubting himself. And I'm like, dude, I know where you are. You're doing the right thing. You've got this. And no matter how bad it gets, we never got out of a situation that we couldn't get out of.
Good, Vince. Thanks for joining us today. And beyond the YouTube channel, which is Vince Perri Official, any other places or any other information you want to leave our entrepreneurs with today?
Instagram is Vince Perri Official. Facebook is Vince Perri. YouTube is Vince Perri Official. My website that I spend good money on is vinceperri.com. I had to buy that. There you go, on vinceperri.com. We got some more information there. And anybody that wants any advice on how to value their company and how to really get an understanding of where they're at today, that's where I'm happy to help.
Stay tuned as John and Rich unpack today's conversation.
Rich, very frequently I think about preparing my business for exit. And I even had a situation recently where I had actually an employee in the business who actually asked the question, are we preparing this business for exit? And my answer was, yeah, but we don't plan on exiting. Because if I think Vince said it so eloquently, if you prepare your business for exit and your business is operating like it's ready to exit, you actually will look back on your business and go, I don't want to sell this. Why did I do all this work to get this here where it's cash flow positive? It's running without necessarily my involvement of the business because the leadership is so strong and the team is so strong and the customers are so strong. It has really good profitability and the balance sheet is growing. Why would you ever sell that? And I talked to somebody else and I said, listen, why would I sell my business for an 8 multiple, for example's sake, when I can hold it for 8 years and then sell it for an 8 multiple? It's like, there's a whole bunch of ways you look at your business when it's healthy, when it's run really well. Conversely, a lot of entrepreneurs who look to sell their business, they're fatigued. They're tired of running their business because they're doing it. They're the chef, cook, and bottle washer. The business isn't generating the cash flow they expected from a business. And then they try and prepare the business within a year or two to sell it. And they basically do all the hard work in the last 2 years to monetize their investment when they really should be doing it now, thinking about, I may exit this business in 10 years, but let me get this baby running nice and cool so I can enjoy the fruits of my labor now.
You made me think of a business to life correlation. And Shelby's mother, Grandma Becky, thought she may want to sell her home. And she thought, okay, I want to prepare my home for sale. So what did she do? She replaced the concrete on the driveway because that was cracking up. She didn't want to get it painted again, so she got vinyl siding. She got nice landscaping in the front. She redid some of the brick by the pool in the backyard. She redid the deck and had a synthetic like Trex used instead of wood. And guess what?
But she didn't sell my home, hopefully.
Jeannie wants to stay there for a little while.
And she probably wish she did it sooner too.
Right. And isn't that what you're describing with business? Is the equivalent of, you're going to make up the home so you could sell it? Because as soon as you make up the home and it looks really good, aren't you going to want to keep? And it's very similar in that mindset, is to not delay doing the things we know that need to be done if we were going to sell. Do that now. Do that in your home now. Do that in your business now.
Yeah.
And then you're probably going to enjoy it so long as you continue owning it.
Yeah, it's funny because we talked, I mentioned in this episode, the 5 types of wealth that I'm obsessed with right now. And why wait to enjoy the benefits of growing a business until you're ready to exit and you just try and optimize it for the exit? One reason I think that exists, Rich, is because most entrepreneurs are really good people with really good hearts. And I'm running into a lot of that now where I'm sitting down with the entrepreneur, we're looking at their profitability, we're looking at their business, and we're looking at the different people in the business, and we're evaluating the people versus the core values, right? The people analyzer method from Traction. And we're kind of like, hey, these 3 people don't fit. They don't fit the core values of the business. They're costing your business a lot of money. They're causing disruption. We probably need to make some changes, and they can't do it because they hired that person 10 years ago, and that person's been in the business for a long time. And I feel like I've just got to keep them and try and help them along. We put masking tape on it as we continue to grow through these evolutions and then wonder why our business isn't ready for exit versus, no, get the business right now. Run it like a sports team. A professional sports team will sometimes cut players that have been part of the organization for a long time, not because they don't love them anymore, just they don't fit the winning culture that we have today. And so get your business ready for a winning culture, but the same applies to your life, to your home, to your social environment, to your relationships that you have. Some people have relationships that hold them down for 10 years before they let go of that relationship when they should have done that 10 years earlier to be happier in their life. Or the person who lets their body and health get out of control until the day they get divorced, and all of a sudden divorce bond comes into play because now they try to they care about their body and appeal because now they're trying to appeal to something different. There's so many different examples in life where you need to take action now. Prepare your business now for the future exit of it, even if you don't exit. And that's why I think having an exit strategist like Vince working with you from day one with the exit in mind the whole way will make your business more enjoyable.
Gosh, you brought up divorce. How many people do you know who are friends of ours who have said their marriage is on the rocks, so now they think they'll go get therapy? Like, almost like preparing for the divorce. You're putting in more effort into the relationship since divorce is on the table. Not that's bad. If somebody's looking at divorce, sure, do everything you can to save that relationship. But shouldn't you have done that a few years ago before things got to this point? It's just the parallels are endless between taking care of our business and taking care of our home and our relationships and our life. Switching gears, we haven't had anyone on the podcast who's given us any sort of a functional formula for creating a leadership training on AI. Not even have they not given us a functional formula. Nobody's even mentioned, hey, I use AI to help me with my leadership training. And I think the way he's going about doing that is just a great takeaway. And it's something that I'm going to look into. And ending that, how brilliant, ending that with, hey, what's a little homework assignment they can do? And even though what comes out of AI may not be exactly what you go with, it's going to give you a first cut and something to criticize, something to make you confident about what you do want to do. So just word of caution, whatever you get out of AI, you do apply your brain to. And you usually keep, in my experience, I usually keep 50%, 40 to 60 of what AI puts out. And then I change the other anywhere between 40 to 60 and I customize it. But I'm so much more confident in what I'm customizing because I had something I didn't like in front of me first.
You know that I could take another 2 hours and talk about AI with you, but I'm going to switch gears again to not talk about AI, but take another component of this conversation that's an aha moment for me, which is I need to learn the models method. And maybe not from Simon Bowen, maybe from somebody else. Maybe I need you to go read a book on it. I'm not a very graphic person. I'm more numbers and ones and zeros. But the way he just described in this conversation, you put him on the spot and said, give me an example of your leadership methodology and how you used it. And he quickly started describing basically a chart of the 4 C's and how in the top quadrant, you have human capital, you have these 3 verticals with AB. Like, I could start seeing it. I was starting to see the exact diagram he was trying to put out there. And that would help me remember the 4 C's just by the fact he even talked about the diagram he was talking about. How impactful that could be for me, whether it be in my leadership training of our teams or moderating sites with companies or whatever it may be, to take an example on the spot of what's going on and be able to illustrate it in a graphic is a skill set I don't have today that I'd love to learn more about. And that was a big takeaway for me going, you know what? That could really improve my communication skills is to really learn more about the models method. So I'm going to dive deeper into that.
John, I wonder if we can bring an element of the models method into the Entrepreneurs United Empowerment experience. And after our presenters go up, maybe we have someone, maybe it's us, maybe it's Erica, we have someone who maybe inputs the key takeaways and asks, like, what would this look like in the models method? And we use that to showcase maybe some of what AI can do. I know we have an entire morning dedicated to AI for the entrepreneurs that are coming to that. And just, we're really excited about it. This thing with the models method, I'm just trying to think, how do we use that there? Because I think it would be a neat showcase of what that can do.
Yeah, I'm in for researching that some more. October 4th to the 6th is the Entrepreneurs United Empowerment Experience in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. If you want more information on that, go to entrepreneursunited.us. Rich, another great conversation. Can't wait for the next one.